Hey there, my name is Amethyst and welcome to my corner, and this right here is Miss Boca. Miss Boca is going to be put down today, and I wanted to make kind of like a little memorial video for her, something to remember her by. So before the video starts, I would like to put out a disclaimer that you're going to see cage setups that I do not endorse, cage setups that I am very embarrassed that I used to have and very ashamed that I used to have. And although some of the cage setups I honestly didn't have for like more than an hour because it was like cleaning out or something or just replacing all of the mats, I still took videos with the bare racks. And so what I wanted to say was this video is about Boca and Boca's life and basically sharing her, and I would like it if in the comments, let's just not talk about that kind of stuff. I'm going to make a video on all the things I regret in terms of cage setups, but for this video, I want the focus to be on Boca, and I would appreciate it if we can just kind of overlook that for right now, because this video is all about Boca. I appreciate your kindness in advance. So today's video is going to be a goodbye to Miss Boca, who was born on November 20th, 2020. So she is 2 years and what is that, like 3 or 4 months old? So she is a very old lady. Miss Boca has given birth to 3 separate litters. So she was originally one of my, the breeder that I purchased my other 2 girls from. She actually was one of that woman's like breeder rats. So she had an amazing temperament. She was super sweet. She was outgoing, and still is, even with her limited mobility. So I tried to give her the best life that I possibly could. But today we're just going to talk about her and what she was like. So she loved to explore. Her favorite thing was free roam time, and she was always trying to escape the little enclosure that I made for them. And she really loved to eat. Like, eating was her favorite pastime. If we had free roam and there was treats out, she would do anything she could to find all the treats and eat them all up. So food has definitely been her love language, and she just loved treats. But she was also very patient, so I actually needed to get another rat because my 2 girls that I had were having some behavioral issues. Let me put on a little hoodie so that she can lay down comfortably. Okay, so I got her in my little hoodie right here, and she's going to get to enjoy a little strawberry. Here you go. So because my other 2 rats were having a bit of some behavioral issues, I ended up adopting Boca. The breeder wanted someone who she felt she could trust to really take care of her, and I was honored to be picked to let Boca live out the last of her days in a happy and fun environment. So she was in my care because of my other 2's behavioral issues, and she very quickly became kind of like a stronghold for the 3 of them. She was super kind to both of them. She was very patient. I have Nezuko and Tanji, and Tanji is very independent. She kind of likes to do her own thing, but she can be a bit of a spaz. I like to call her like she's the Monica of the group. And then you have Nezuko, who is very much wants to play all of the time. She's a bit aggressive when she plays, like she doesn't have a chill button. And Boca was very patient with Nezuko specifically. Both Tanji and Nezuko really like to groom Boca, and Boca is pretty old, so she sometimes really just like was not wanting it, but I think because she had been a mom 3 separate occasions, she kind of had that patience that was necessary for these 2. So she really was the perfect addition to our little mischief. Boca also likes to chew on things. I never had any issues with finding holes in my clothes until I got Boca. She constantly was trying to pull things into the cage and create little beds out of whatever scrap material she could. I'd constantly find pieces of paper, or sometimes when they would do free roam, if I had like a receipt or something lying around, she would manage to grab the receipt and bring it into the cage and put it in her little bedding area. She really loved to cuddle. I oftentimes would find her with one of the girls. There was very few occasions before she lost her mobility that she was ever alone. So she really just was a bonding agent for the 2 girls, and I honestly just so quickly fell in love with her. She was so charismatic. She had her own little personality, and I just was so blessed to be able to care for her. A couple of months ago, I'm going to tell you guys basically the whole story of everything. If there's anything in this story that maybe I can help you to not make the same mistakes, that would be amazing. So I am going to be vulnerable and honest, and I would like to preface by saying I feel an immense amount of guilt for possibly not taking the best routes for a lot of this. So I'm going to do the one disclaimer and try not to continue saying it later on because I'm putting it out there. I feel immense amounts of guilt, and when I say maybe you shouldn't do this, that is because I learned the hard way. So back in December, I noticed that she started to have some swelling around her mouth and she started getting a bit lethargic. I checked her incisors, they all seemed fine. I checked her bowels, she seemed to be going fine, and she was kind of limping on one of her legs. So I was like, okay, this is weird. She is at the age where I was like, maybe she's starting to develop cancers. So I took her to the vet, and well, I should say the day before I took her to the vet, I noticed that her incisors were too long. I had checked them before, but she had started to tuck them underneath her jaw, which I didn't know they could do this, but basically she was able to adjust her jaw bit by bit, and Boca's mouth has always kind of hung open a little bit, so I didn't notice anything too particularly different because she always had a little gap in her mouth. But this time, obviously, I could tell that the incisors were too long and they were growing up into the top of her gums when she rested, which was when the swelling had started. So luckily I got to get her into the vet, and he ended up trimming her teeth. And I know people say that you should burr their teeth and not trim them. So I asked him if he could burr them, and he said no. He said that there should be no big deal about this, and I was already kind of on the fence about this vet. I do appreciate him and his personality and like his kindness and everything. When I say personality, I mean his kindness. But there was just a couple of things with this vet that did rub me the wrong way. He had some, propaganda in his vet clinic, and he did things very old school, but I overlooked that because he was very kind and he would give me discounts because rats can get really expensive, and he was constantly being just above and beyond above and beyond with the care he would give my rats. He'd send me home with a surplus of anything that I needed prescription for. So we trimmed him a couple of times. It was fine. She ended up needing to get her bottom incisors trimmed 3 times. Like, he trimmed what he thought he needed, did it again, and did it again. And on the 3rd time, he did cut too close to the root, so she started bleeding. And this was the moment where I realized, okay, I can't justify coming here anymore, because he said that, oh, well, her root would just shrink back and change. And then he insinuated that humans can do the same thing, but because of American medicine. So yeah, that was the moment where I was like, I can't trust you anymore. Like, you just ruined it. Like, I can't trust you anymore. So we came home, and at that point I had been giving her soft food. I had been taking her Shunamite mix and blending it into a powder and adding water and her minerals and then feeding that to her. So I just continued with that because she still wasn't eating solid foods despite her teeth being the correct length. And I felt like maybe it was because of the fact that he trimmed too close to her root. I'm honestly not completely sure why she still wasn't. I do have an idea. I don't think it was because he trimmed too close. I think it was because she had an underlying infection. So I did end up putting her on antibiotics, and I did the round of antibiotics, and I do wish that I had continued on that, because I think if I had, she would have a better quality of life right now. So she ended up getting a bit better, and about 3 weeks went by and I was checking her teeth, and he had trained me how to trim her teeth at home. So I went ahead and I purchased a guillotine nail trimmer, and I did what he told me to do to her top teeth, because I noticed her top incisors started to curve down a little bit and it just didn't look like it was comfortable for her. So I ended up trimming her teeth, and it went great, and then it didn't. So I had tried with a little like scissor version, the one that has like a flat side and then a curved piece, and it's like a regular scissor, but with just that nail clip. And I tried that and it didn't work well. It kind of, she like, it kind of cut them uneven, and it kind of splintered her teeth. I would not recommend ever, ever, ever. If you are in a position where you absolutely need to trim your rat's teeth, do not use the little scissor-like ones. Use a guillotine, because you can't get both teeth with the scissor, and the way it cuts jagged. So just don't mess with those, period. I don't even recommend using a guillotine at this point, because I ended up getting a guillotine after trying those ones, and when I went ahead and trimmed her tooth, it fell off. So basically she had an underlying infection, and so her teeth were extremely brittle, and when I went to trim her top incisors, one trimmed perfect and the other one trimmed perfect, but then it broke off at the root. So imagine if my tooth fell off like right here, is kind of what happened. So there was no blood, no pain, she didn't squeal or anything. It seemed like nothing happened to her, but obviously I saw the chunk of tooth that had fallen out. So after that, I set up an appointment with another vet that I had not been going to because she's really expensive, but at this point I'm just going to suck it up and deal with that, because I trust her so much more right now. So at this point in time, she had completely lost mobility in one leg, and she started kind of losing mobility in the other one. As far as I could tell, she was still going to the bathroom okay, but when I took her to the vet, she basically did some tests. She said that she is definitely going to need to stay on antibiotics for a little bit, so we got another round of antibiotics, or she let me use some that I had previously from another one of my rat's respiratory infections, because she did have a respiratory infection, in addition to all the other things that were going on. At this point, I started putting her on emergency food. I'll put a picture up of the one that I ended up giving her. She was losing weight like crazy, and I was trying my absolute hardest to help her keep the weight on. I was syringe feeding her 2 or 3 times a day, and she was eating her servings that she should have been by weight, and she still was not gaining weight. If anything, she was kind of losing it. So very scary, and the vet basically went back. She put her under, did a full body examination. She didn't find any tumors, and she did end up trimming her teeth down. She burred them, thank gosh. And that was vet visit number 1. Then vet visit number 2, we came back. She started doing better. She gained some weight. She ended up taking her back and doing the burring again. Another one of her teeth broke. So I was still syringe feeding her at this point. But vet visit number 2, we were like, okay, next time you come in, it'll be it.
So I forgot, like, the most important part of explaining this story was that she was actually diagnosed with a degenerative disease on the second visit. So that meant that she was losing the ability to move and the ability to use her bodily functions from the back of her spine all the way up to the top, which is why she started to lose mobility in her legs first, then she stopped being able to go to the bathroom. Eventually it would have led up to her lung area, and the vet explained that with this type of disease, she would have ended up suffocating to death when she lost the ability to breathe through her lungs, because her lungs would stop working. So obviously that's not a quality of life that I wanted her to have at the end of her life, so that's why we went the euthanasia route. And she explained that everything that had led up to this moment, all of the things that were going wrong with Boca, kind of didn't affect that at all. Like, she was kind of just predisposed to that, so it was going to happen no matter what. But it still stinks that all that other stuff happened before this disease took hold of her. So that's the point of the story, I guess.
Then vet visit number 3 comes along, and I'm there prepared for her to be gone. But I did set up another appointment later in the day so that if it was okay, this is the day, I wouldn't have to go to the vet for a checkup and then do it then. I could do it later on in the day. Turns out that she had made like a really quick recovery, and so she was doing so much better. At this point, I was helping her go to the bathroom, feeding her still. She couldn't really walk very well, so the vet still was like, I think you have about a week. And this was last Monday, and today is Monday, and today is her last day. So her respiratory infection came back because we did the round of antibiotics that was prescribed. She got better, and now it's back again. And so she's just not doing super great. She still can't really eat super well. She can eat slightly, but she's very soft with her bites, and she's very slow. So that is basically the story. Moral of the story is, as soon as you see something, get your rat to the vet. Don't take them to a vet that's cheap just because it's cheap, and don't try to justify something if you get a bad feeling in your gut about a vet. Always have your vet burr their teeth, and try not to do it at home if at all possible. Get in touch with Real Rat Lovers Want to Know. It's a Facebook group, and it has completely been so amazing through this process. So I had been on there a couple of times asking questions and things, and they were very, very, very helpful. So definitely get on that if you have a pet rat. Another thing would be just, make sure you're doing checkups more regularly on your rats, and be more observe them a lot more. Because if I had observed her more carefully, I hate to say it, but I think I might have been able to catch this a little sooner. And then also, I think it's better to let them go a week early than a day too late. And that was something that someone said in one of the Facebook groups, and when I read it, I was like, yeah, I feel guilty that I let her stay for so long, because I now feel like I kind of reduced her quality of life, and now right now she is not living a good quality life because of her respiratory infection and not being able to go by herself and all of that kind of stuff. So definitely regretting forcing her to stay here longer than she needed to because of my selfish desires. So it's important to know that although we get these pets for ourselves, we have a duty to them to make sure that they are taken care of and that they are comfortable, because at the end of the day, pets are a privilege, not a right. So Boca has a few more hours left, and we're going to take her to the vet, and that'll be it. But I wanted to make this video because Boca has just been such an amazing pet to me for this past year. She has completely changed my life, and she has changed the lives of a lot of other people. She has been able to change people's perspectives on rats, their perspectives on pets, and she's really touched everyone that's met her. So I love you, Boca. I'm gonna miss you so much. I wish I had made more content about her because she just deserved it so much. She deserves the world. She's such a good rat. She's such a good pet. I love her so very dearly, and I'm going to miss her for forever. By the time you watch this video, Miss Boca will have been gone. So what I want in the comment section is a lot of positivity. If you have rats that you want to leave a little memento for in the comment section as well, go ahead and leave that. Let us know about your rats that maybe have passed away or that are in the later stages of their life. Let us all celebrate these little guys, and remember that they are a gift, and they are a privilege, and that they are a really great privilege to have. So I just wanted to say that. If you have been going through this, or if you have gone through this, I'm so sorry. I know how hard it is, especially when it's a situation where you kind of have to make that executive decision as to when is it time to let them go. I know that it can be a touchy subject with some people, so if you have anything mean to say, please don't say it in the comments. Trust me, I feel guilty enough about not getting her care sooner and not being as diligent with the vet that I picked out. So yeah, please, none of that in the comments. Just uplifting and positivity all around, please. But I felt Boca deserved her own little video, so here it is. And I hope that you got to learn about Boca through this video, and that you fell in love with her just the same that I did. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow. Bye!